What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the Lewin Resources Steel Fortress, or their version of a masterpiece-ish scale Metroplex. So I just did an unboxing for this, thanks to Alan L. and Tim R. from the Transformers Underground group. And during that unboxing, I got a comment from the one and only MGO that I had the waist rotated the wrong direction. So I did have to take this apart again. I took the arms and the legs off, rotated that waist 180 degrees, and then reattached it. So if you're getting this yourself, make sure you rotate that waist. You want this on the front. It has like a little turbine down there. I'll get in close later so you can look at it in more detail. But make sure you do that, because otherwise, it's going to be a lot of work to just undo that. Now, I did remove all the guns just so we can see how he looks, and we're going to go through articulation and light up features, details, all of that. So I didn't want to have all the guns on there. But he does come with smaller little cannons that you can put all over up here on the arms and on the knees. And then he comes with bigger cannons, which you can actually put in the shoulders for a more, look that matches the Hasbro toy. Or you can put it in the hand as a gun as well. So nice option there. But either way, we're going to get into that a little bit later. First, let's take a look at some of the detail on this guy. And you might notice I have a chair behind it. That's just to stabilize it, just in case it leans back. Let's quickly talk about stability. He does stand pretty well. I'm pushing him forward and backward. He's not falling down, but he does lean. So if you're planning to put this on display in your collection, I would recommend that you either put him up against something on his back. The front is less likely to fall because you got the toes here. But because he's pretty heavy, and if you were to knock into it or something, it's possible for it to go back. So I do have a chair here, and that's preventing it from going any further back than that. It'll kind of stop it. Now, you don't need the chair. It's a precaution, especially since it's not my figure. But let's get close on the details so you can see how this guy looks. All right, so starting off with the head, we have these red ears. Everything is unpainted on this pretty much. There might be little tiny bits of paint, but for the most part it's unpainted. The ears can rotate forward and backward. The head can rotate side to side. It does kind of run out of space right there, but it goes almost all the way around. You get a little bit of up. You can get down, but it's mainly for transformation, and it does kind of get stuck down there, so I don't want to rotate it until we have to transform it. But in here, if you put your fingers on the side, you pull down, you can get this visor down, and that visor looks really good. I love how that looks. And I actually think, that's the way to display him, is with the visor down. Oh, but you can rotate the head down, and you can rotate the chin down. So when we get to transformation, we'll do that. Coming to the arms, actually the chest also has a little bit of a rotating piece here. And since we're here, we might as well look. He does come with his own little magnet. It's a card like this. It says Lewin Resources. It's a really heavy die-cast piece. On the back, it's got a magnet and a little design here. So this can be used. I just have it in a plastic bag, but this can be used to turn it on. And you can see that light there. Let me just turn off this light so you can see a little bit better. And then if you do it one more time, you get the pulsating light, which is pretty cool. And one more time, you get the rotating or spinning light. Now, there's no mode to turn it off. Like if I hit it again, it goes back solid. So I do wish there was a turn me off mode. If you leave it long enough, I think it's like a 5-minute timer or whatever it is, it will eventually turn off. But for now, it doesn't. And let's turn the lights on the head too. So there's the lights on the eyes. The two together is really cool. I really like the look of the light up eyes and chest. Got a little bit of red detail here. Let's continue on and let's get the lights back on. A little red detail here. You have this panel, which you can remove if you don't want the look of it, but I just think it's cool. It's got like a railing. It's got basically 3 different places to put figures. You could put like legend scale figures on here, and that's really cool. You can also mount cannons on here, but we're not going to do that right now. So if you want a more G1-ish look, you know, you could just take that off and display it without that. On the shoulders, we have a little bit of black detail. Again, it's all plastic. I don't think it's paint. So it's like plastic on top of a piece of plastic. That all looks really good. And let's go over some of the articulation up there. Ideally, you have 2 people for this. I don't have 2 people, so I'm just going to do it cautiously. But I would hold here to reduce the stress on this joint, because that's what's pulling. But you're going to hold there. And we'll rotate the arm. So you do get rotation. Now, it shifts his weight forward. So you can see he leaned forward a little bit. It's not falling, but he definitely leaned forward. So you do want to balance him when you shift the weight like that. So put it back down, and again, hold here. It does feel sturdy. It doesn't feel like it's going to break. This goes out to the side, and again, I recommend holding there to give it some support. It does go out to the side. I'm not going to move all these joints to their limits. 1, it's just going to take a lot of energy out of me, but 2, it's unnecessary. You can see that it's going to move. We have an elbow bend here, so a rotation here at the bicep, ratchet it. Elbow bend here, and you can see that it leaned back, but it didn't fall. It just feels not great. Elbow bend up to there. For the hands, you have a up and down rotation here at the wrist. Each finger is individually articulated, and I'm wishing I had a cameraman, but this is how it is. Each finger is articulated at 3 joints, so you can bend them down. You can make a fist if you want. And there are light up features right here. If you open up the tip of the finger, and you might need a spudger. I actually have one right here. But if you open up the tip of the finger, there we go. You'll see there's a little battery compartment. I only bought 1 battery of this size. It's the same one that goes in the gun. So that's the CR1220. So you'll need 4 of them, actually 5 of them, and another 5, so that's 10. You need 10 just for the fingers. I'm not going to do that. If Alan wants to do that, he can. But you have a rotation at the wrist on a ratchet, and then the thumb is on a swivel and 2 hinges. So pretty good movement for, you know, a giant figure like this. All right, coming down to the waist. We have a waist rotation here. I recommend holding the thigh here, but you can't rotate all the way around. I'm not going to rotate all the way around, but you can rotate it there. Just give it some support. And no ab crunch, but I don't think you need an ab crunch on something like this. The legs will kick forward. I'm not able to do it just because of, you know, being on my own. We will show you that for transformation you can rotate this leg forward, but you also have a knee bend right here. You can also tilt up on the toe. If you wanted him in a walking pose, you can tilt up this toe, both toes obviously. And you also get tilt. I think there's probably one more click out of this toe, so you can get another angle. The hip will go all the way out, so you can get it all the way out to the side. When we transform it, you're going to see that. All right, let's take a look at some of the accessories here. So first off, we have these guns, and you can plug them in here on the front and the back of the arm. These have articulations. You can point them forward. I think they look best, at least on the arms, they look best pointed upwards. I do think they're a little busy looking, so I'm not a huge fan of how these look, but you can also put a gun here and a gun here, and then you can angle them up. And again, I think this makes it look busy. So if this was my copy, I don't think I'd put these here. I think I'd leave them off. But You can do that. And let me get the other 4 on there. All right, and then you're left with 2 more, and those are for the knees. You can plug those in right here. And this is definitely my least favorite of the entire thing. I just think it looks very out of place. It doesn't look like it belongs there. All right, next we can add the shoulder cannons. Look like this. And it is really like human size. Like, you know, you could have this as a gun yourself. But if we take the magnet, I put a CR 1220 in here. Touch it to the front, you get that. You touch it one more time, you get the pulsing. And then touch it one more time, it turns off. I'm going to leave it off for now. And this can go right here in the side of the shoulder. It does add a significant amount of weight to his arm. So you'll see it does make the arm kind of sag inwards this way just a bit, just a hair due to the weight. The other thing you can do with this is open up the handle on that ratchet. There's a little tab here, not little, a huge tab here, and that will fit into his hand. So you open up the thumb and fit this into the hand, and there you go. Once you get it in there, it can hold on. You don't even have to close the fingers, but I am going to close the fingers around it, and I think that's a better look for him. Now you can bring the arm up, and like I mentioned before, you're better off bringing the elbow up before you put the gun in. But look at that. The weight is a lot. It's definitely leaning forward. I would never leave it like this. It's holding. I mean, I'm not holding it, but it's leaning forward significantly. So I don't recommend posing it with the gun up like this. If you are going to do that, you should counterbalance it somehow. You know, maybe rotate this back or something like that. Let's see if that helps. No, it's just not enough weight. So I do recommend, if you're going to do this, that you don't put the elbow up. Just put it down and let him rest down like this. All right, the last accessory here is some alternate faces. So we get this one, and I'll lift up the visor, which is just a kind of the standard straight face. And to take this out, you can lift the neck up. Actually, it goes down here as well. Has a ratchet in there. So lift up on the chin and get the face out of there. And then you can go ahead and put in the other one. Here's the alternate. It's got like an angry face. And just make sure this tabs back in. So there's that angry face. That looks pretty good. Getting a little bit closer. And then we've got the sort of stylized, you know, I would call it a comic style face, but it's got like a damaged eye and, you know, kind of like a scratch or like a crack on his face. And let's turn that on so you can see how it looks. I did put a battery in there. And that looks pretty cool. He's got like a little bit of eye coming out of here, just the pupil. So pretty neat accessories. Personally, this is not my favorite. I think just the straight face is my favorite. But nice to have the options there. All right, and for our size comparisons, there it is next to the DX9 version of Omega Supreme, the Fan Toys version of Omega Supreme, the previously largest figure ever made, HasLab Unicron, and the Magic Square version of Optimus Prime, because that's tradition on this channel. And he's huge. You know, he's really big. Obviously, you can kind of fit it in to any collection. You could, you know, put it with a Chug scale, Legend scale, or Masterpiece scale. I think it probably goes best with Chug scale in robot mode. But because it towers over everything, it just works. It doesn't really matter. All right, and since we have him in this mode anyway, there it is next to the Fans Toys Superion, the Toy World Devastator, Hasbro's Scorponok, and Hasbro's Arc. And then up here I've got the New Age Jetfire. And it does look good. I think it's plenty big next to combiners. So if you're planning to display with some third-party combiners or even Hasbro Titans, I think it does work. It really towers over everything. All right, now let's get this guy transformed into the rolling base mode. And like I mentioned earlier, since I'm doing this by myself, I'm going to have to do some steps off camera and in a simpler way. But first we're going to take the arms, and they recommend you counterbalance them. So basically, again, hold this joint and lift up on the arm. So it should be straightforward. And then hold on to him. If you have two people, much better. You're going to rotate the other arm backwards to allow a counterbalance. Right? So we have it, the front arm, this arm forward and this arm backwards. We're going to take the head. You can fold in the face, and then that's going to fold down. The head's going to fold down, and then these are going to come forward as little cannons up there. Right? So the next step is going to require us to turn it around. So I'm going to get this turned around, and then we'll take a look at what to do. When you come down to here, we're going to open up, and this thing is definitely leaning forward, so you want to be careful and hold the body. These two pieces up, and then you're going to lift this up, come to the inside here, you're going to fold out, and you might need a spudger to grab this, but fold this out. That's going to tab in right here. So get that squared away. All right, now we got both of these up. We're going to need to bend the legs forward. In order to do that, I'm going to have to lay it down and then bend his legs forward, or his torso forward. So I'm going to do that off camera. I'll be right back. All right, there he is, folded over, and I had to bring the arm forward because it just wasn't going to balance with this backwards. It really wants to lean back. Once you lean that forward, it works. Definitely recommend two people. I'm pretty exhausted, but we're going to keep going. We're going to take these feet. These are going to rotate down. And I want to get this all the way flat like that. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. I'll just do that off camera. All right, now that we got the feet down, we can take care of these knee pads. And I will tell you, it does feel like he's leaning back a little bit. So just be cautious of that. But yeah, it just feels like it's leaning back. So go ahead and grab these knee pads. We're going to lift up and over. And this is going to fold down, end up covering the front of the foot. And then you're going to come to here, open up this little panel here. And on the inside there's a little panel to cover up the little gap to have a nice ramp here. So go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Alright, now that we have it configured like this, we're going to install the guns, which will counterbalance the arms. And we're going to rotate the arms back. Now it's going to put a lot of weight towards the back of the figure, but that's how it's supposed to be transformed. So rotate the arm back, and then we're going to plug the gun in. Ideally you have the gun in plugged in beforehand. I'm just doing it after. And yeah, it definitely is back heavy now that we have the arm facing back, so I don't know. This doesn't seem like the best way to do this, but let me get the other side done and then we'll be right back. Alright, there it is configured in base mode, and it's still pretty back heavy. So I want to show you, I can't really turn it around, so I'm going to come back here and show you. Hopefully you can see this. There is a brace back here. It folds down from his crotch, but it's so small I don't think it's going to hold, so I put a little piece of styrofoam to kind of give it a support. I don't think this is going to work. I mean, it's just too small. It's way too much weight on that tiny little plastic piece. I'm actually going to fold it back up and put the styrofoam piece underneath, but it just doesn't look right. So that is the support. It looks decent. It just doesn't look like it's going to support the weight for a very long time. So I would recommend putting something under there to support it. All right, and for completeness, I did put the guns on here. And I do think in base mode, the guns definitely add something. So I would definitely display it with that. But for some scale, here it is with the MP10 Optimus Prime, the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime, the New Age, and then a Dr. Wu. And looking at these, I think you could probably get away with the Chug scale. New Age or Legend scale probably looks the best size-wise. Dr. Wu maybe a little too small. The MP10 probably too big. So if I was doing this, I'd probably either put Chug scale or Legend scale. Alright, now let's get it transformed into the other base mode. And we'll start with the arm here. So we're going to end up with one arm down and one arm up. On this side, the gun ends up being a stabilizer or a support. So we're going to rotate this arm down, again, support the whole thing. Much better if you have two people, but I don't. We can fold up the hand so that his fingers, aren't hitting the ground. And then we should be able to get this all the way down. So we have this up here. We're going to rotate this out. This is on a really tight ratcheted joint. So you have to pull this out. That definitely feels very sturdy, that piece. And you're supposed to remove this before you rotate this back. So just take this piece off, set that aside. And we'll come back to here. I'm going to have to take out my little styrofoam piece. Bring this around all the way. So then you can come to the side here. This piece is going to fold out and click in, tab in down here. Such a cool thing. I'll come in closer so you can see all the detail on this thing. Then you're going to open this up. There's a little hidden gun here, little cannon. You can display this however you want, but I'm just going to put it like that. It does rotate. You're going to keep the head down like this. And we can come back to this side now. And over here, we're going to rotate the opposite way. So you want the gun down. So bring this down. And the gun should end up on the ground. It actually creates a stabilizing piece there. So I actually like that. I like that this adds to the stability because this back part is heavy. We're going to open up this hip joint. Again, I would recommend holding here. Put this out, a couple clicks. You can have it however you like, but I'm just going to put it like that. All right, and final steps here, go ahead and take the platform. Instead of being in the center, it's going to be off to the side. So you're going to plug it back in, and then you can have the guns still in there. Just adjust them so that they fit properly. This one is a little harder to fit in there, so you might just need to adjust it, but it does work. Then you're going to come to the front here. I'm going to pull out on this and then fold this down, and that's going to sit down there. It has a little soft material right here to make this a smooth surface, but that gives you the ramp. All right, and there you have it, the base mode. This one looks really good. I really like this. Let's get in close so you can see some of the details. We got the ramp, all the cannons and guns. This definitely helps it balance, having the gun there on the side. The fingers do look a little awkward here, but that is what it is. You got the cannon on the back. That looks like a nice tower. All in all, this is a really cool mode. Here's the helipad that I mentioned and the cannon. Now back here, we do have the fingers holding up most of the weight, and so that's definitely helping this support along with the gun on the other side. So I do feel like this is a more stable base mode compared to the other one just because of those supports. And for some size comparisons, once again we have the New Age Optimus, Dr. Wu, Studio Series 86, MP10, the Hasbro Autobot Arc. I didn't have an Autobot in helicopter mode, so we've got the Ocular Max Impetus, their version of Vortex. And then we've got back here the New Age Jetfire on the platform. And it looks really good. Now the Optimus does fit this Studio 3D Series 86. Obviously, the MP1 is not going to fit on that ramp. So like I mentioned earlier, I do think that Chug Scale or Legend Scale are ideal for this setup. So final recommendations on the Lewin Resources Steel Fortress. This is a very tough one for me because it is such an amazing piece, really historic. But I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 partial recommendation. Let me explain why. Is it an amazing figure? Absolutely. It's the biggest transformer ever made. It's got all sorts of features, accessories, light up gimmicks. It looks great in base mode. It looks great in robot mode. If you don't like the IDW look, you can take off some of the cannons and kind of make them look more like the G1, which is why I took the cannons off the knees. I think that definitely improves it. So he's got a lot of versatility, but it really isn't a practical figure for most people out there. I think it's just too big to display, to fit in your collection. It's also just too big to manipulate. You really need 2 people. Don't do what I did and try to do it on your own. You definitely need 2 people to handle it. It will fall over. I have it in a stable pose right now, and this is the only pose you're getting because this was a workout just to get it like this. But you really need to have 2 people to manipulate it and get it into a pose. 88 pounds is a lot to manipulate by yourself, especially a big awkward thing like this. So yeah, I think it's amazing. I think it's really impressive. I did have an issue. I had a breakage. This is the left heel, and it sheared at the screws. Obviously, it's standing up just fine. It doesn't need this to perform in any of the modes, but it did have an issue. So still, really great figure, even with that little issue. And that might be just a one-off for me. Happened during base mode, but other than that, haven't had any issues or things not working or breaking. But it is very heavy. So if you're looking to get this, I think pick the mode that you want to put it in, have a friend over, get it transformed into that mode, and then leave it that way. And it is truly a one-of-a-kind display piece. I think, when people come over and see this, it's just, it draws your eye. It's really impressive. So that's really it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Alan and Tim from Transformers Underground, and we'll see you next time.